welcome to the first SEO shop. I'm super excited to do this. This is Lynn with Right For You, and I am a content marketing specialist, and I help people elevate their SEO through content marketing. And today our SEO shop is going to be all about how to use the correct keywords for your brand, because using the correct keywords is super important, because a lot of people use keywords on social media. But what I noticed with a lot of accounts is that people are using too general keywords, or they're using keywords that are too popular. And those keywords are not going to get you good exposure. And a lot of people seeing your posts, and I'm going to explain that to you in just a little bit. So let's start off with first, how to create hashtags for your brand. Let me put this on presenter mode so you guys can see this really well. Okay, and so when you create hashtag lists for your brand, I'm going to show you how to do it so that when you're creating your hashtag lists, you're creating lists that are to get you really good discovery on social media. And of course, that depends on like how often you post, how engaging your content is, but these hashtags will definitely help you boost that. One of my clients who I have created hashtag lists for, she started using those hashtag lists and got 150 new followers in a week on her interior design Instagram. So the types of hashtags you use definitely can help you boost your brand. So the first thing when you're looking to create hashtags for your brand is you have to figure out what are your niche subtopics. So like I know Katie does photography. And so one of the things that is a subtopic for her is wedding photography. And so Eric, I know you help people get more profit and sell their business at a higher rate. So what would be a subtopic for your genre?
Timing to sell your business. Is it the right time to sell your business? Upswing on your income.
Okay, awesome. So like when to sell your business would be a good subtopic for you. Okay, so that's where you want to start, is to figure out like, what are your subtopics? So for me, because I'm a content specialist, my subtopics are ghostwriting, website content, and then another subtopic that I use a lot, or I have like a newsletter subtopic too. So I have like about 5 or 6 probably subtopics that I have keywords for my business. And each of those are something that I do that I help people with, like a niche of my business. So, and you want to be niche, because a lot of people think like, oh, I want to, access everybody. And you really don't. You want to access the people on social media that are going to be most interested in your product. And you do that by niching like your keywords. And so that you're not using the same categories all the time. You can use different categories so that you're not using the same exact keywords with every post. And that's really important, because you don't want to be using the same exact keywords with every post on social media. All right, so how to search your niche on Instagram. So you need to find out what's trending on other people's feeds, and kind of start to get a look around what's going on Instagram for your competition. So let me get on my Instagram and I will show you how to do that. So I'll use, Katie, is it okay if I use you as an example?
Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just on my Right For You feed. So I'll put photography in here. Oh, actually, let's do wedding photography. And then we'll use an example for you too, as well. So if you look at wedding photography, you can see there's 49 million posts, which is a lot of posts to go through. But let's just check that out and see what people are posting about. Because you can click on hashtags and just see who's posting under that hashtag. So all of these posts are people that are posting under wedding photography. And you can see like, there's different types of weddings and different venues and all that stuff. So one of the things you can do is you can click on a photo. So this one had 1 comment on it, and you can see what type of hashtags they're using. So this person, Sunny Moon, who clearly does wedding photography, her hashtags are wedding, turquoise dress, and wedding dress. So one of the things you don't want to do when you're picking hashtags is pick really common hashtags, and I'll show you why. So if you just click on wedding and you click on any hashtag in Instagram, it's going to show you that hashtag. It should show you that hashtag. Let's try that again. Hold on one second. My internet might be a little slow too. Is it not? It's not going to do that. Okay, so let's just go up here and click and do hashtag wedding. It's probably going to, yeah, it's 237 million. So one of the reasons why you don't want to use a really general hashtag like wedding is because that hashtag is going to be so like, your post is basically going to get lost in those hashtags unless you're somebody that has like a really large following. So this person has close to 5,000 followers, which is pretty large. So at 10,000 followers, you're considered to have like a really big following. So that's why they could probably use this hashtag and maybe get some traction from it. But you really don't want to use hashtags that have a really general idea. But what you can do is you can go in here and see, okay, so this looks like Korean. So that's, and I don't read Korean, so that's not going to work. But oh, that's cute. They have a lab in here. And this is, maybe Portuguese. I'm not familiar with the language. And another thing is, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So this one, so bride and groom. So we can put in bride and groom and see what's coming up with that and see how many followers that has. Because it'll give you, so that one has 7 million. So it's still a lot. And I'm going to show you a count in a second. But this one, bride and groom dance, would be a good one to use, and bride and grooms with adding the S on the end. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But this is a good way to just go through and see what like your competition's doing, what kind of hashtags you're using, and to give you ideas for other like subtopics for your hashtags that you might not think about. So like for instance, Eric, what would be something that you would like when to sell? Let's try when to sell your business.
Say business sales, maybe.
Business sales. Okay. Because I know that's probably going to be a really popular one.
Yeah, that's how we narrow it down.
So business sales is actually a pretty decent one. It's 33,000 posts.
Oh.
And so that's one you could use. It's a little bit more than like a really ideal tag, but oh, and this is funny. Here's a wedding that showed up. Let me see. I'm just kind of curious on this. Oh, so this looks like it's a person that maybe she is a yep, she's a realtor. So maybe this is her wedding right here that she was, that looks like her. So that was her wedding. So I was like, oh, wait a minute. We didn't just search wedding. But anyway, you can see on business sales, if you're looking on here, you can get some ideas. Oh, and she's actually using some really good hashtags here. So you can write down these hashtags, or you can even copy them and paste them. And I like to copy them and paste them and put them like on a little notepad on my computer to give me an idea of like what I want to research to see like where I can put that in what category of hashtags that I'm going to be creating. So that's the first step that you want to do. So do you guys have any questions on this so far?
You're just on the Instagram front page. Is it your profile?
Yep. So this is my profile. So if I click on here, this is my profile. And then what I'm doing is and you can do it from your profile too as well. But what I did is I just went on my home feed and searched. But either way, you can search from your home feed or your profile. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's great.
Okay. So then let me grab onto back to the presentation. So that's how you want to look at what other people are doing in your field. For one, to get an idea of what hashtags they're using that may work for you. And two, to also get an idea of like what other sub niches or categories you can make hashtag brands out of. And I've done that for my business as well. So we talked about creating your list for topics of hashtag groups. So you want to start out with like 3 to 5 groups you can easily identify for your products or services. So Katie, can you think of like maybe 2 other groups besides wedding photography that you could make a hashtag group of?
Right. Like probably themed photography, or couple photography. I think you'd have to niche that down even more, like you were saying. But
and you also do professional photography, like for people's professional photo shoots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that could be another one. Eric, how about you? Could you think of like, besides selling your business, what are 2 other subtopics?
Yeah, business valuation. And business buyers.
Perfect. No,
business
that's awesome.
sellers.
Yeah, and you can think of more than 3, just write them down. I always tell people, just brain dump and write all your ideas down is the best way to do it. And then when you go back and do the hashtag research, you can see which categories are really going to work that you can get a decent amount of hashtags out of. And so then once you have your list down, you're going to go through the hashtags that you found while you're doing your research, and then add those to the appropriate categories. So which hashtags are going to fit into which categories, and start building your categories from there. And so I'm going to show you really quick what I have on for mine. Let me share my screen here. And so here, let me show you some of my IG tags. So here for my Write For You, I have several of them. So here's my content creation. So when I'm posting on social about content creation, I'll use these hashtags. Writing in general, I'll use these hashtags. Ghostwriting, travel, because I also do travel content. So these are the different hashtags that I've looked up that I know are in a good range, that are in, don't have millions of uses, but that they all apply towards these different categories like social media, LinkedIn, and then I also do like some inspirational quotes. And I'm working on building an SEO one right now, so that's why SEO is at the bottom without hashtags. And with Instagram, the really great thing about Instagram is that you can build out 30 hashtags for each category, which is really great. And so on Instagram, they'll actually tell you only use 2 to 5 hashtags, but actually what the data shows is that the more hashtags you use, the better coverage you get. So just ignore Instagram when they tell you use 2 to 5 and use up to 30. Now, if you try to post more than 30, what Instagram will do is delete your whole, like you'll show the picture, but it will delete all of your content for the post. So one of the things I also tell people to do, which is a good idea, is that like next to your topic, so next to your topic that you're like your category, you want to put the number of hashtags. So you don't have to have 30, but if you have like 22, I would put like content creation in 22. So I know there's 22 hashtags in there. That way, if I'm writing the post, if I can think of like other hashtags to add to that, I can add a few more if I wanted to, but I don't have to. But that way, at least I know I'm not at the 30 limit for that category. And so that's all the part of researching and really building your categories up. So when you're researching hashtags on Instagram, like we said before, you're going to look up your hashtag like we just did on IG, the hashtags that you're interested in building. And then you want to see the hashtag followers. So how many hashtag followers does each hashtag have? And what you want to do, and this is really important, you want to hit the sweet spot between, and so you want to look at hashtags which have between 5 and 10,000 followers. Because for smaller accounts like ours, those are actually going to get the most hits. And the reason why is because when you have a smaller account that's under 10,000 followers, which a lot of people fall under, when you use the really big hashtags, you're going to be put in with all of the people who have more followers and who Instagram is going to be showing more posts. So you're really competing against people who have like a bigger pull on Instagram. And you don't want to do that. You want to be competing with people who are in this, like have less than 10,000 followers, because you have a better chance of being seen by other people. If that makes sense. And so because intuitively you think, oh, I need to use this hashtag with millions of followers, but you really don't want to do that. Now, I've also used hashtags that have like 30 or 40,000 followers, which are okay, but I really try to stick to that 5 to 10,000 followers for the hashtags. And you can clearly see that on Instagram, like I showed you earlier. So it'll show you how many people are using those hashtags. And so feel free to use more than 10,000 and experiment and see, like if you add a few more that have like 20, 30 or 40 or 50,000 followers, like how well that post does. And of course, there's lots of other variables for your post too, but you can always like experiment and try that out. And then again, sort your hashtags into the appropriate category list, so that one of the things you don't want to do on Instagram is you don't want to do what's called hashtag spamming. So like some things people will do is like, oh, there's a trending topic. And so they'll take that hashtag and they'll throw it in their post, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with their post. And that's not a good practice, because A, you're going to be drawing people to your post who clearly aren't interested in your post because that hashtag doesn't have anything to do with what you're talking about. And B, the Instagram, if you do that consistently, Instagram will pull down your post and or close your account. And so you definitely don't want to do that unless the trending thing definitely has something related to your topic. Then it's okay. But you want to make sure that if you're using a trending hashtag, it definitely relates to the topic of the content that you're posting on Instagram.
I've got a question, Lynn.
Yeah.
The list that you had was the list that you showed us earlier on your computer, right?
Yes.
And each word, like if I come up with business buyers, I'll create a list for that one with hashtags. Business valuation, I'll create one for that. So each category, like for instance, with I'm sorry, what Katie was going to do was one for wedding photography and one for maybe graduation, and each one would have its own list of hashtags, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And up to 30, and then we research them. Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. And then if they fall between that 5 to 10,000, definitely put it on your list. And a lot of times when you're looking at hashtags, sometimes like wedding photography might be too, but if you put like wedding photographer or wedding photographers, like adding that S on the end, sometimes changes it to make it fall into that 5 to 10,000 category. So adding an ER or an S on the end of whatever word you're doing, if you can't find, like if all of your finding is just like hashtags with like millions or hundreds of thousands of follows, then add an ER or an ER or an S on the end. And that usually will bring it down into that, like in that smaller category.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and you can also use versions of what you see online. So if you find one like, oh, this looks interesting, take that, put an S on the, but it has too many followers, take that and put the ER or the ERS or the S on the end and see what happens. And so add more categories that you can create hashtag lists for. So if you found another category, like add it to your list, because as you're going along creating those hashtag and you're researching online, you'll get more ideas, which is really, it's kind of fun. It's kind of like going down the hashtag rabbit hole. And then you'll want to refresh your hashtag list about twice a year to update your hashtags, because with all the changes in marketing and different things trending, certain hashtags might end up being too popular that you have on your list at the beginning of the year. And so a year later, it might be too popular. It might not be serving you well. So you want to just go back and just copy and paste those hashtags into Instagram, see if they're still going to be working for you. And the other thing is too, is you might find more hashtags that weren't popular enough before. Maybe they had 500 follows and now they have 5,000. So you can add new ones to your list that you haven't had before that apply to your content as well. All right. So with creating—
I have a question real quick, Lynn. Would you, so like with my wedding photography, I do like themed and then I do traditional. So would you niche down both of those and do individual for each of those?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So you could do like themed wedding photography, and you could do like niche it down even more. And the other thing is too, is you can take some of your hashtags and use them in different, like this, like multiple categories. So if you use like theme wedding photography in your wedding photography and your themed wedding photography group, that's perfectly fine.
That makes sense.
Yep. You can duplicate it too. Yeah. That way you don't have to make each category, you don't have to make all your keywords in each category original, but you do want to mix them up quite a bit so that Instagram sees you're putting different keywords or different hashtags in each of your posts, so that they like that. So that helps them, that helps you because it bumps you up and will show you more people if you're doing different hashtags on your different posts too. And so creating the same research method on your other social media channels. So the other ones are a little bit different. So like LinkedIn, because they've only started using hashtags for like, I think 2 or 3 years, you want to use more simplified hashtags. So you might just want to use like photography or wedding photography, or you might just want to use like business sales on LinkedIn. So go on LinkedIn, and they always suggest hashtags for you to use. And usually their suggestions are pretty good. And I would definitely limit my hashtags on LinkedIn to like 3. On some of my posts on LinkedIn, I had a social media gal helping me, and I told her, like, you know, just to post the same thing across the board. So I do have way more on LinkedIn than I need to, but you definitely want to keep it like 3 to 5 on LinkedIn. Twitter is really hard to use more than 1 or 2 hashtags because their character limit is so short. So you want to be really precise and maybe only use like your branded hashtag with Twitter, which I'm going to go over in the next workshop, is how to create a branded hashtag for your brand. And Facebook, I use the same hashtags for Facebook and Instagram because they both are pretty niche with their hashtags because they have such large amounts of people on the platform. And then YouTube, you also want to use more simple hashtags. And I use between like 5 and 10 hashtags on YouTube. I don't use all 30. And anytime you use a hashtag, you always want to leave like 4 or 5 spaces in between your content and your hashtags so that people can clearly read your content and it's not mushed together with your hashtags, because then that deters people from reading your content because everything is just too squished together. So it's what I call breathing space. I like to leave like 4 or 5 spaces so you have some breathing space between your content and then your hashtag as well. All right. So any other questions on Hashtag or hashtag use, because we've come to our 30 minutes, but I want to make sure I get your questions answered for you.
I have a quick one. I didn't even realize you could do hashtags on Facebook. Mind you, I've seen other people do them, but like, I don't know anything about doing them. So is it just the same as if when you're doing it with Instagram and it like pops up as you're putting it in?
So no, so Facebook, I don't believe it pops up with hashtags as you're writing. Like if you put a hashtag something, I don't remember Facebook ever showing you hashtags, but Instagram does that. And that's what's really cool, because there's a lot of hashtag like tools out there and they're like, oh, you can generate, but you really don't need them, because all you need to do is just go on Instagram and see how many people are using them. So you don't need an expensive hashtag tool to do it.
But you can still do it on Facebook is what you're saying. And even like you can put it on there and they can still click on it and see something different.
Yeah, so you can, so you can't tell how many followers on Facebook are using that hashtag. But what you can do is I just use all my Instagram hashtags the same on Facebook. So if you were doing wedding photography, you could just take your wedding photography hashtags, yep, use them on Facebook and Instagram the same. Yeah, and if you're using a social media scheduler like Buffer or Later or Hero Posts, that's really convenient, because then you don't have to change up your hashtags when you're scheduling your posts out on a social media scheduler. So Eric, did you have any other questions before we wrap up?
No, I want to go to Instagram and play with it and try to understand just one platform and then venture on. And I do use Facebook. Yeah, no, it's good information. I want to play with it and understand it better. So,
awesome.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I think it could be helpful. And this would be on the bottom of a post, basically, right?
Yep. You just make your content and then you leave like 4 or 5 spaces, and then I just copy and paste my keywords. Like I even have that note thing on my phone with my keywords. So if I'm mobile and I'm making a post, just copy and paste them, throw them right in the post.
Okay, nice. Okay, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for attending today. And then also if anyone is watching this video on YouTube and you need help with doing your hashtags, or you just don't have the time to do it, I do offer that service of hashtag creation for you. So definitely contact me at lynn@writeforyou.me. You can also go on my contact page at www.writeforyou.me. And if you'd like to sign up for the next Get Savvy with Your SEO shop, I'm doing the next one the 3rd Wednesday in September, and that's going to be on how to create a branded hashtag for your brand, which is a really cool way for people to identify you and find you across all your social media platforms, even if you have different names and handles on them. All right, my friends, I hope you're having a great day. And if you need any help